Good Friday morning, everyone. Thanks for checking in our latest Trade to Black podcast, a YouTube channel with 50,000 subscribers. We hit it this week. Big thank you to everybody that's been following us and supporting us for a long time. And anyone watching here today, if you haven't subscribed, and smash on that subscribe button and join our community group as we start to build more and more. We got a big show. Well, an interesting show coming up. It's Friday. We'd like to be a little bit looser, a little bit more relaxed here today. We're going to talk about a couple of things. Big alcohol. They're starting to see, they made it official on an earnings call. Brown-Forman basically saying their 5% sales dip was because of cannabis. So a lot of things that we've been thinking out for quite some time is now becoming official. So that's interesting. Plus some new data research that came out about the risks of medical cannabis towards seniors. I don't know how much I look into this or read into this, but if I were sitting in front of somebody that's looking at cannabis for the first time, especially medical cannabis, let's find out what we would discuss with them, with our two experts. So here we are on a Friday. Let's welcome in. And I said two because we got AV coming in here on a Friday.
Oh,
chugging away.
Yeah, what's going on?
Not too much. What a week. Note to self.
Yeah, it's been a crazy week.
Twitter causes anxiety.
Jeff, I promise you, if you want Brady Cobb's phone number, I can give it to you and you can call him. Stop asking where Brady is. Brady will come on the show when he wants to. There's nothing to talk about right now. It's comical at this point.
Yeah.
He's got a major crush on Brady.
Yeah. Send it to me. Okay, we will. All right. I said two guests. I think everybody's going to be happy to see this familiar face we haven't had on in quite some time. He's been through a lot, but happier than ever. It's good to welcome back our good friend Guap back to the podcast.
Greetings, Earthlings. I just want to know, when are we going to get Brady Cobb on the show?
Yeah.
Brady, if you're listening, you got to come back. The people demand Mr. Cobb.
Yeah. Anthony, is that a Brady Cobb hat?
It actually is a sunburn hat. I got it the last time we were at the dispensary, actually.
For Brady.
Yeah.
Where's Simon? Yeah, you know what, David? Where's Simon too, guys? Yeah.
Irwin? Oof. I don't know if everyone's been watching recently. He might not be back on for a while.
Yeah. I actually have an evergreen video coming out next week, and it's about Canadian LPs really dominating Germany. What a great interview. Did you guys see that, Guap? You know, you keep learning more and more. The Artemis Growth Partners guys that hook us up with all these people from Europe, but these are some of the most well-respected thought leaders in the European market. But
Jay Boogie 5000 really broke down the math of the opportunity in Germany for me. I know I've touched on that before. Finn Hansel was great, so thanks to Artemis for that one. He really gave us a view from on the ground with a proper German accent as well. And then show
who's Jay Boogie 5000?
Jamie Pearson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen,
example, I like tweeting the
fighting in the red corner, Jay Boogie 5000.
She's 1,000 more than me, higher rated. So, but yeah, the interview we just had with two folks, one an operator, one a lawyer on the ground in Germany, that helped clear up any sort of like tightening or crackdown language we were using when talking about the telemedicine in Germany, and instead clarified this is really about the advertising restrictions. What is information versus what's an ad? You know, so check it out if you haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, Gretchen, good to know. I only watch when Brady is on.
He's not on today, and she's watching, so that is false.
Maybe she's logging off now.
She is definitely going to troll us this entire show, so I'm just going to ignore the comments.
Buck, when is Charlie from Cresco coming on the show?
You know what the good thing is? We're doing a live stream all day Monday at Benzinga.
Yes.
All of these people will probably be on the live stream at some time during that day because they're all going to come right by us.
Big question.
Everybody will be able to see everyone.
Is Brady Cobb in Chicago?
He is in Chicago. He is in Chicago.
Wow.
So is Charlie, maybe Irwin. We'll get everybody on there. Alan Brockstein might make an appearance.
Yeah.
At some point.
That'd be interesting. Can you imagine how that would start?
Something.
First off, I just want to let you guys know how much I hate you. Did you see Alan?
That's actually what he probably would say.
All right. So yes, Brady.
Tilray is a very, very good company.
As far as Charlie from Cresco coming on, we got the news this week. He's not. So nothing more I can say right now. They're laying low, and there's a couple things that they're working on. But look, I know everybody says, "Where's this person? Where's that person?" We reach out to these people every single day. It's not as easy. So in showbiz, we are multiple of hats. We're hosts, we are producers, we have to prepare for this stuff. So Anthony and I and Guap are always reaching out to our network, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But even when we have guests that come on, say, for example, today, we sometimes don't reach out to them like 2-3 weeks prior to the actual show. That's just what happens sometimes. But, you know, we've had Brady on quite a bit, though, have we not recently?
Yeah.
Last time we had him on was what, March?
He's busy. Yeah. I mean, I know it's summer. I know he's up at the farm a lot. He's going to be in Chicago. So, I mean, if I do see him in Chicago on Monday, I'm going to grab him and he'll come on the stream.
Okay. Up in Smoke writes, how is Kira making out with that split store model? Might be too early.
Yeah.
Like Boris has said repeatedly, Boris will not talk about a line of business unless it hits $100 million in annualized run rate. He's stuck to that with the European business. I'm sure he's probably going to consolidate the hemp business. And when I say consolidate, just combine all the numbers within the hemp business side of Curaleaf. And once that business line, hopefully it does, hits $100 million, he'll probably start talking about it. Until then, you're not going to see numbers, especially extrapolating numbers out of a single store in West Palm Beach.
You throw 100 million around like it's nothing. That's crazy.
Yeah,
right.
I don't blame him because, I mean, Curaleaf does what? Billion top line. So, I mean, if a business line is less than 10% of revenue, it's really not material. There's no point in talking about it. Build up the business, let it do what it's going to do. I think the European business now is tracking for 140 million on an annualized basis. And now it's material and part of the conversation. I actually like that.
1.34 billion they did last year.
I had a weird theory about the Curaleaf store that I'm willing to share. It's not accusatory like some other things. Yeah, I thought it was interesting because it's sort of just highlighting how ridiculous this whole situation is in Florida. And so if simply splitting a few stores draws attention to the issue and gets some sort of unified framework that makes sense, mission accomplished, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the silver lining of all that could play out. We'll see.
All right, Jeff, you got $100 that says he doesn't come on. I'm on for that. Okay.
Don't get these guys. They don't get these guys with bets.
Yeah. And this just in case if you're joining us here this morning, Brady Cobb is yet to make an appearance on today's show, but we'll keep you posted to see whether or not.
I got a feeling he's going to text me in
the reports of Brady Cobb's demise are overstated.
You guys should have Tom on. I don't know if Tom would ever come.
I would definitely have Tom on if Tom.
I would love to have Tom on. Tom, if you're watching.
I genuinely like Tom. I mean, I know the Village Square sometimes goes after marijuana moment, but I like and respect Tom a lot. I would have Tom on in a second.
Gadzooks, AV. So would I.
Yeah. All right. Lots to talk here this morning. What else? Oh, and I thought it was great too that there was a press release out from MMJ Biopharma that basically reneged some of the press release, which I thought was.
Yes.
We did some good work the other day because, man, oh man, you're lucky you don't get slapped with a lawsuit with that first, press release. But they reneged on some of that stuff, but cleared Curaleaf's name, which is good because you saw the look on his face when we started explaining their Canadian subsidiary. And
it was borderline just irresponsible.
Borderline,
to be saying, I'm trying to be polite, but I mean to paint the picture that a Florida MMTC is backdooring product to a Canadian LP, which is then exporting that backdoor product to a EU GMP certified facility in Europe, all under the guise of a multi-billion-dollar business is preposterous to say the least. The mechanics and the fundamentals and the disclosure that Curaleaf provides within their financials covers all of that. And to be honest, the way that they work, and we all know this, they acquired Northern Green to export directly to Europe. That's the way their product moves. And I think they don't have,
it really took away from his message and his press release too, because we got very
Correct.
zeroed in on that part. Whereas his story, especially after he explained it, made a lot more sense, and I felt his frustration. So I think just getting that out of whatever his messaging is on this, I think, and trying to draw attention to his story is what he should really be doing.
Well, you say something like that, kind of reminds me of when Steve Harvey announced the wrong Miss Universe pageant. Did you remember that story where he got the wrong person?
I'm not big into the pageant scene.
Me neither. I'm not sure what you're. I think isn't that owned by Trump?
No, not anymore. It was major. It went viral. He basically said, "Hey, the winner is Miss Columbia," and then she put the crown on and celebrated. And then he walked over and said, "I made a mistake," and it was like Miss Portugal, so they had to take the crown off. But whatever.
Oh,
Was there
Bad-
any news?
bad
Was there
example.
any news in the last 48 hours we should talk about?
Was not aware of that.
Jesus.
Sorry, it's 10 minutes in.
So it's a sensitive subject because I've got a bunch of stock in SpaceX that I am been sitting on since like 2018. So I would like very much so if the government doesn't go repo SpaceX and Elon starts decommissioning Dragon rockets, which he's apparently not going to at this point. But yeah, it's nuts.
I know you were saying this is staged, Anthony. This is not staged.
I think it is.
No way.
I think to a certain degree they're. So I don't know how much you want to get into it, but I mean it's entertaining to say the least. But if you notice, I'll leave it at this. If you notice what Elon said that the Epstein files, Trump's name is in there.
Correct.
There's a lot of people that are in there in those files. Just because your name's in there doesn't mean that you were doing what everybody thinks you were doing. If Elon really wanted to go nuclear and really poo-poo Trump, he would have mic dropped and called him a pedophile in a second. You really want to burn the bridge and cut the cord and not just make this some sensationalized media blitz bullshit, you call him a pedophile. You don't say that his name is in there because his name could easily be in there and it could be benign. And you know what's a direct cause of what happened yesterday? The Democrats now are up in arms declaring that they want the Epstein files released now.
I know.
And a bunch of other stuff. It's not, there's no way to tell if it's Fugazi or not, but it just kind of seemed like manufactured to a certain extent. And then you've got JD Vance on Theo Vaughn tweeting, "Oh, did something happen today?" Like slow news day. It's all scripted.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say it might be staged. And now for the news.
Yeah. It was entertaining. I mean, Tesla got rocked. It went from like 350 to 275 intraday. Yeah. And then you've got Steve Bannon on there saying, "Deport Elon, send ICE after him right now, and then repossess SpaceX." What are you going to do? Push the guy that owns Starlink, Tesla, Neuralink, SpaceX, and the Boring Company? You want him to go to China?
Right.
Because I sure as hell don't. I like the fact that he's ingrained in the United States.
100%. But a lot of people
don't need to push him somewhere else.
Suggesting why didn't the Biden administration, if they knew this, release it during the election? Because I think there's a lot of people that they know within their party that were there, and they didn't want to obviously blow this up. But I think it's two very emotional men. And you're right, Gretchen. You saw this breakup from a mile away when this was going on. I'm like, this is not going to work over time. But we talk about cannabis today. Let's talk about cannabis.
Maybe a little bit.
Let's get into it. As our thumbnail said, with big alcohol and cannabis. But let's begin with the news from the alcohol industry, more notably the earnings call from Brown-Forman. And for anybody interested, that's the parent company that owns brands like Jack Daniels and Woodford Reserve, which is a Kentucky straight bourbon, where they made it official, acknowledging that cannabis is taking market share from them. They revealed on their earnings call a 5% sales dip on shifting consumer behavior, blaming cannabis for that. So everything that we've been thinking with regards to this industry for quite some time, AV, I don't want to say it's official, but they made it official on their earnings call. And good to see, because we talk about growth and there is consumer behavior trend that's happening, more notably, especially with the younger demographic. And I don't mean young as in kids. I mean like the 20s and 30s are definitely changed their consumer behavior. And big alcohol, take notice. This is trends only going to continue.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we've seen for some time now. It's something we've all watched happen in real time. I think the beverage movement has compounded the effect. This is good because, I mean, Brown-Forman's now on notice. And I think Brown-Forman, when your market starts to decay and your consumer starts to go to another trend, usually if you're a multi-billion dollar, multinational corporation, you then go and acquire what's eating into your margin and what's that new trend. They're going to come into cannabis sooner rather than later. I can see, if they do, that's a generational business with a lot of lobbying power and with a lot of staying power in Washington. That's got a lot of influence. I'm not saying they're going to come in tomorrow, but if he's mentioning cannabis and he's saying that it's eroding their business at the margin, I could see him going and taking someone out to then go capture that business, especially with the deterioration that you see in cannabis stocks right now. That being said, someone brought up a pretty good.
That's a very good point.
Someone brought up a pretty good argument yesterday. Yes, we do sit here and say that cannabis is going to keep taking over market share in alcohol. Alcohol is more of a social lubricant. I don't think that cannabis is as much as a social lubricant. I don't know how deep this trend is going to go, but it's clearly evident now. I think it's going to continue to erode alcohol sales at the margin. And I mean, I'm really curious to see where this ends up. But I do think it ultimately ends up to them coming into cannabis.
There's a question I'd ask for both you guys. You say it's not as social, cannabis versus alcohol. Like, walk me through the mindset. You know, either one of you can ask this or answer this question. Walk me through the mindset of people that are 25, 30 years old when it comes to social gatherings, to cannabis. Like when I grew up, it was just like, you know, you graduate from university. It's like you're doing, you know, headstands out of a keg and you're having a good old blast and being social with everybody. But you just, the way they go about things, and you see a lot more younger people, introverts, especially with stuff like this. But I guess the two go hand in hand based on their personality traits. Or am I wrong to think that?
You know, we've all tried to have a conversation with someone who's drunk, and we've all had discussions with people who are activated, let's say, on cannabis. It's a way different experience. And also, you know, the ramifications of that night for the person using are way different, right? You can actually conceivably drive home hours later rather than continuing to blast yourself. No, I'm saying hours later. I'm trying to avoid any lawsuits.
No, but that's my argument. I mean, if you sit there and continuously drink cannabis beverages, let's say 5 milligrams, if I'm at an event that, let's say, 4 hours in duration, and I want a sessionable beverage, if I keep drinking those things and I drink, let's say, I wouldn't drive, but if I go to an event, a Panthers game, I'll probably have like 5 or 6 like tequila sodas, and I'll be pretty buzzed. If I drink 30 milligrams of THC, my ass is going to sleep before the third period is over. If I'm just being honest, like at a long duration event, it would catch up with me, and I'd be done.
It hits everyone's system differently, right? So AV tends to get sleepy. I have the opposite effect when it comes to cannabis, especially if I'm smoking it. Is, you know, I'll be up until 2 a.m. cooking up ideas, listening to music. You know, it activates me in a way. So it hits everyone differently. But this trend is not new. We watch the daily consumption of cannabis versus the daily consumption of alcohol, and we've seen that line already intersect. So the idea that a CEO is finally publicly acknowledging that, but also he could just be looking for something to pin maybe a soft quarter on. We've seen that in the cannabis space as well. You know, when we have a top quarter, it could just be seasonality. It could be price compression. It could be hemp. It could be, you know, all the things together. So, you know, alcohol losing out to cannabis, and if you can't beat them, join them. Absolutely.
Drew, like for me, cannabis is great for boat days or going to a concert. But like sporting events, I'd prefer.
It's the only way I can clean a house.
Sorry, say it again. Sporting events, you prefer what?
I prefer a little bit of both.
Yeah, makes sense.
I like organize,
and I can't sit there. I can't sit there and just keep drinking cannabis beverages like at a hockey game.
Guap, I like that term he used. Sessionable beverage.
Well, that's AV's term.
That's the correct.
Absolutely right.
That's the correct term. That's the whole business.
I'm not saying it's not.
But that's the buess model in the beer industry and in the spirits industry. You want something that's sessionable. And you know who actually told me that term? Brady Cobb. I swear to God.
On the show?
He actually is the one that told me, that brought that term up, because think about it. Yes, I can drink a 30 milligram beverage and it'll get me buzzed all in one dose. But they don't want you doing that if you're in an event. The whole thing with beverages is you want people to spend more money. So you want a lower milligram sessionable beverage that I'm going to drink 4 to 6 of them. My basket size is going to be more, and I'm going to spend more money, because getting it all in one dose isn't really good. It's not a good business model. It's good for the consumer.
Imagine how much money a stadium could make if they sold 5 3 milligram beverages to AV. that, and 15 milligrams, that's not beyond able to control yourself kind of levels. And that's 5 drinks that they just sold for what, $10 each at least.
Hey, don't forget, last time we had Boris on, they are working, it sounds like, on, what was it, with one of the sports arenas in Florida. I don't know if it was Florida, but
he said Florida. They're going to have an exclusive agreement with well, I'll be there next Thursday. So last Stanley Cup Finals, there were cannabis beverages in the building. I'm curious to see if they have those kiosks set up again. Did you buy tickets or did you get them? I'm gonna, when I get home on Wednesday, I'm just gonna get tickets for the game on Thursday.
Yeah, it's a good question, David Benz. When will Cobb do a session on this? And again, a reminder for anyone joining us right now here in Trade to Black is for 20 minutes in. No sign of Brady Cobb yet, but we'll keep you posted if he does make an appearance.
He might show up any minute.
Okay, so slide over Constellation. We're going to see more big alcohol coming in, right?
I think you do. It's the perfect match. It's a sin industry per se, and it's eating their market share. They're not going to sit there and just let their business dwindle. I really do believe that people that are stopping drinking alcohol, myself included, I've done it over the past couple of years. Like, I don't drink nearly as much in the past 2 to 3 years. I just don't. I don't like it anymore.
Could it be sooner? Could it be later? Because when we look at the valuation of some of these companies right now, they've been.
But I've said this before, and this is also from the same conversation that I had with Brady. You want to know what
Stop.
This dovetails in perfectly because he's actually the one that told me. He's the one that told me this. When you look at alcohol, and he's talked to the major alcohol manufacturers, there's a Surgeon General warning label on that beverage.
Yep.
That is what the alcohol businesses are waiting for to be implemented in cannabis, because that takes all of the risk off of the manufacturer. Yeah. Once that label is there, Diageo, Brown-Forman, Southern Wine and Spirits, they're chomping at the bit to get into this business. Yeah, it's why you see alcohol like the WSWA doing a fly-in to DC to lobby on behalf of cannabis beverages. That's why they're getting involved in the conversation. Yeah. Once that Surgeon General warning and the FDA has entered the game and they give them that risk-free stamp to go on the products, it's fair game and they're coming in.
Yeah.
Anytime I hollowed out a cigarette and hit it, packed it full of weed and put it in a Marlboro pack or something, I thought there's going to be a day where this is a real product, right? It would blow my mind. I wouldn't love that day, but the idea that, tobacco's not sitting back and licking their chops as well, I think they're going to come in. And the thing with both of these industries, huge lobbying dollars, huge coffers. They could buy the whole industry.
Well, I asked whether it would be sooner or later that they enter in, but Gretchen, you make a good point. They won't show up till it's legal. You guys agree with that?
What I just said, that label ain't happening until it's legal.
Yeah.
Or descheduled, or there's major reform. The FDA and that surgeon warning label, the Surgeon General is not putting that sticker on a Schedule I substance.
Yeah.
It's completely contradictory.
Gretchen, I'd be curious if you've got that information as well from Brady Cobb, like Anthony, but let us know your thoughts. But anyway, we'll let that one die now. Let's go on to segment number 2 now. And senior cannabis use is surging, but science is pushing back. And according to a JAMA Internal Medicine, cannabis use among Americans 65 plus rose nearly 50% from 21 to 23, but newer studies, including the UCSF report from May 2024, are surfacing real cardiovascular and cognitive health concerns.
Cognitive.
I said it again.
You did it again.
I said it again. Cognitive.
Is there an E typo in there?
Jesus. God, I'm pulled a Ron Burgundy again.
My cognitive dissonance here.
So what do you make of this, knowing seniors have been a fast-growing demo? Is there more to this? Like, I don't know what to think of this. Like, if you guys are sitting down with people that are 65 plus that are experiencing or trying to learn medical cannabis for the first time, what's your message?
So a couple of things.
Low and slow.
Laura Ingraham is probably the biggest reefer madness advocate out there that's on mainstream TV.
Just a tad.
Second of all, she would give somebody a barbiturate or an opioid before she gave them cannabis. They are both more addictive. They both have more decaying effects on the body, especially from a neurological standpoint. And they both have side effects that are including cardiovascular and whatever this JAMA study was citing. JAMA's done these studies before. They're not thorough. They're leaving out certain variables that attribute to certain of the impacts, such as the cardiovascular and the neurological functioning. Anecdotally, if you went to these seniors that she's claiming have gravitated towards cannabis, they will tell you on a firsthand basis, I sleep better. I have less pain in my life. I feel better. And these are people that have come off of pharmaceuticals. So unless those senior citizens are lying, the cannabis that they're ingesting is completely altering the way that they live for the better.
Yeah. Low and slow. I have an aging parent who uses CBD lotion on her bad knees. She uses low dose edibles as a mood enhancer to get through the day instead of using any sort of pharmaceuticals that a doctor would have been just as happy to prescribe her, right? And her quality of life is, like AV saying, is better. That's just my mom, but you know, there are countless other grandmas and grandpas out there that are using and getting, you know, these are the boomers. These are the hippies from the 60s and 70s. They're open to this type of product. And they always sort of knew the medicinal value. I think it's just coming more into the front end of their brain now, and recognizing it.
Here's just another chapter of misinformation, and guys like Sam get involved when they're trying to make a case for why cannabis should not have reform. But this is so far from the truth, is what I'm pretty much summing up from your guys' feedback on this. I don't want to say
it's just false.
Yeah.
Like, sure, cannabis use has gone up amongst senior citizens.
Good.
Me personally, I think a 60 to 70-year-old individual has the right to use whatever the fuck they want at this point in their life, if I'm being completely honest. And if you take cannabis and put it side to side with the opioids that they're prescribed, the barbiturates they're prescribed, the benzodiazepines that they're prescribed, cannabis has less negative effects on the body than any of those medications.
Yeah.
If you get a lot of these senior citizens were taking benzodiazepines to sleep, those become addictive, and they have reverse effects on a long tail the more that you take them. Those people have been weaned off of those benzos via cannabis, and they have a better quality of life. And Laura Ingraham apparently has a very, very big problem with that. These senior citizens also are not sitting there ripping dab rigs and like doing all sorts of like crazy shit. They're eating 10 milligram gummies that they're buying at True Leave to go to sleep.
Well, you can almost guarantee
the fact that it's such a big problem for her is just, it's perplexing to say the least.
Well, generational thing, because a lot of these big media companies, the big bosses behind the scenes, are from the boomer generation. I know that we're talking about the 65 plus, but for that generation that is against cannabis, they are so against it. And that gets fed down to obviously the on-air talent. And that's the message that they're trying to bring out loud and clear, which, you know, this is why legacy media has questions, because the top line information is just not going as far anymore, because when people see that, they may quick judge, but then afterwards they do more research and it's far from the truth.
And what industry pays for the commercials on Fox News?
Yeah, I was watching Fox News last night, and it was funny because I was sitting at dinner with my wife, and I was like, you know what they don't do in Germany that I found out the other day? Advertise pharmaceuticals. There was 2 pharma ads on every single commercial break from the 6 o'clock hour until the 8 o'clock hour yesterday.
Two?
Yeah. Everything from
like every commercial break, or
every commercial break had 2 pharma ads for everything from dick pills to cardiovascular to cancer drugs to GLP-1s. It was antidepressants, statins. It was all pharmaceutical advertisements.
So every hour of broadcasting in TV and radio, there's usually around 39 minutes of content. So you've got 21 minutes basically of 4 commercial breaks per hour with around 4-minute. Oh my God.
I'm all for making an argument against cannabis. If you want to,
that's probably 60-second ads too, right?
I think they're probably somewhere 30 to 45. I wasn't paying that much of attention to that.
This whole system creates the conditions and then sells you the pills to fix them.
Correct.
Yeah.
And now, and don't get me wrong. Like I still think I'll die on the hill that pharma has made life better for humanity. Pharma is not the enemy. The only unfortunate thing is pharma does their business for profit at the end of the day. So there's obviously conflict in there. And the whole advertising thing I've never agreed with, but pharma's essential to people's quality of life.
Well,
but don't tell people what to do, especially people with life experiences that are at age 65 to 70.
Yeah.
If she was running a segment that had valid data on the increase in teen vape usage due to cannabis and blah, 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 I'm not going to say it was valid, but I'd say she has a better point than saying the people that are living in the villages in Florida are flocking to medical cannabis to get off of pharmaceuticals for a better quality of life.
I know.
Like,
I know.
nobody outside of her thinks that that's a valid argument.
People
David
use
Benz.
the term high. We got into that, and I did a whole 2-minute rap on it. But they use it almost as a derogatory term that is also equivalent to the other drugs that get you high: cocaine, heroin, cannabis. They all get you high. High is something to be scared of, something to be avoided. When in fact, how it actually manifests is this senior who, maybe feels like every day is a little cloudy, feels like her day is a little sunnier, and she gets out of her room and she talks to her friends down in the dining hall. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a bad thing? Come on.
Biggest takeaway for me from Wednesday's interview is
We're
the
not
fact that lobbying is illegal in Germany. Therefore, common sense prevails. And when pharmacists are speaking to government officials and showing the revenue that medical cannabis is producing, this is what excites me about the German market. Everything that we're learning is that everything with regards to the industry that we cover, nothing is holding it back. And yes, there's going to be certain advertising restrictions, as they indicated, but no medical platform is being shut down. It's just the growing pains of an industry. But when you see 250,000 to almost 1 million prescriptions in or medical registered patients within the last 14 months and 84 million people, you can understand how, and this is what I've outlined about Canada being a big player in the German market right now, but 3 or 4 or 5 companies that are exporting into Canada right now, or excuse me, Germany right now, big upside potential.
Yeah, they've got 1 million. They can't really count them as registered, but they've got 1 million approximately patients right now, and probably another 7 million to go that are currently buying on the illicit market.
Think about this, Guap.
As soon as they make that frictionless as possible.
Imagine if a new state came. Imagine if a new state came online, had 84 million people, and there was only 5 players in that state. That's what we're talking about here. So, it was a long time coming, but finally Germany's getting it right, and now you can see Canada with federally legalizing. It's reaping the benefits, which is why we're talking about Canadian LPs being a good turnaround story. I think somebody asked what's going on with CGC stock the past 2 days. Why the recovery? Any insight you want?
I think it was violently oversold.
Rebound from overselling, writes Phil.
What
Good
was
point.
it? Yeah, the RSI on it right now is 53. It was probably in the 40s 2 days ago. It was just grossly oversold.
Yeah.
I never get excited about 3 days of green. I want to see the monthly chart turn around.
Yeah, good point. All right, let's now move on to this Hemp Bill leaves committee. So a GOP-led House subcommittee advanced a spending bill that redefines hemp and would effectively ban all products with measurable THC, including Delta-8, THCA, and full-spectrum CBD. The bill moves to a full committee vote on June 11th. Critics warn this would gut the legal hemp sector, push consumers to unregulated markets, and bypass state authority. Give us your latest feedback, AV, on this information and really what people should know right now and why it matters.
So we've been there, done this before. I think it was last year. I think the Miller Amendment was proposed. The Miller Amendment passed the same committee.
Yeah.
The Miller Amendment was then stripped out at the 11th hour before the bill passed. Hemp has been and I'm not saying this in a derogatory sense, but hemp has been a cockroach. So far, it's been facing bans federally and in the states. It always seems to survive. My gut tells me this is not going to be any different. I mean, Andy Harris is pushing it. One would kind of think that the hemp bans that you're seeing on the state level, and then the fact that he's pushing this on a federal level, means that there's major cannabis reform coming on the horizon. If you want to know why I think that, it's because Michael Pollan did a very deep dive into how poppies and opium the government clamped down on in home grow and in personal cultivation standpoints before opioids came online and sold into the market via pharmacies. There's a lot of research that he's done on it. There's a lot of good arguments that he's done there. I would think that the federal government would clamp down on hemp before major reform. That being said, Andy Harris is not the guy that's going to bring a clamp down on hemp to the table due to us getting momentum in cannabis reform. So, I mean, that theory is very loose. But I don't. My gut tells me this doesn't get included in the bill. It gets chopped out by some outside force.
Okay, I want to use this loosely because I'm not saying you exactly said this, but you think potentially, based on some of this news, this could indirectly mean that we could see some sort of cannabis reform on the horizon?
Potentially, but I wouldn't really take much brevity to that.
Yeah, we're reading tea leaves.
Gretchen, what do you mean hemp is not safe? Stop deluding yourselves. I don't know. I don't get what that means.
Explain, Gretchen. I think she's
big hemp fan now.
She's rolling her eyes. All right. Okay.
Hemp could be very safe. There's a lot of good companies that do a lot of very good work.
I'm about to get into that.
With hemp products. I've said Hometown Hero, Cornbread. There's companies out there that are fantastic in the hemp space. But the problem is the same guys that are selling the good stuff don't want to sit there and condemn the guys that are selling the snake venom at the same time.
Aren't there cross-border operators in hemp as well?
There's absolutely zero ramifications for interstate commerce on hemp. You can grow hemp anywhere and ship it anywhere in the United States.
I know. Okay, so it's just in the U.S. They don't do anything shipping like Canada versus. Well, I know Canada doesn't grow hemp, but I was just curious to see if it actually is cross-border, meaning not states, but more international borders, like from Canada and the U.S.
No, the problem with hemp in the States right now is there's a lot of hot cannabis that's sold within the channels masquerading as THCA flower. Sure, there's probably Mexican cannabis, Canadian cannabis, Colombian cannabis that finds its way into California and to other states,
Oklahoma.
And then Oklahoma, that finds its way into those states, and then it's sold into those channels. That's the problem. When you go online right now, there's distro websites that sell THCA flower that says it's Farm Bill compliant THC flower. You get it, and it's hot cannabis that's got mycotoxins, heavy metals, a ton of contaminants. It's shit that you would not want to smoke. That's the problem with the industry, and that's why it's a very big problem that there's no regulation currently towards it. Like I said, there's a ton of very good, wholesome actors that are getting cannabinoids in the hands of people that need cannabinoids, but there's a shitload of bad actors in the industry as well. And unfortunately, they're coexisting under the same rules and regs, or lack thereof, within what we call the hemp industry right now.
I'll never underestimate the government's appetite for just banning things. So they could do it here, but no one can tell you when it's going to happen on a federal level. Meanwhile, state by state, everyone's having this discussion right now and trying to figure out a solution.
Yeah. David Brands, if you think that all cannabis grown in Oregon gets consumed here, ...
Yeah, no, right.
It's shipped up. Trust me. I mean, we don't have our heads in the sand. I know for damn well cannabis in California, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, it's all over the United States and it's all over Europe.
I have a little jar of
as well.
Oregon over here. Yeah. And I'm in North Carolina. So,
yeah. Well, you are in North Carolina, which segues into our last topic here. Governor Josh Stein just called North Carolina the most liberal pro-marijuana state in the country due to its totally unregulated hemp market. He's launching a bipartisan cannabis advisory council to study full legalization, decriminalization, and how to close loopholes. Public support is rising, which is good. And North Carolina could leap ahead of states still stuck in medical-only debates. So we'll begin with you, Guap. This is welcoming news, is it not?
It is. I just watched the 25-minute interview with the governor on WRAL, and it just feels like this guy's read in. He's informed. He understands the issue. What he's trying to do is make a safe supply. He's considering. He's brought in a council of people who are anywhere from hemp operators to law enforcement to doctors to lawyers He's trying to talk with officials from other states like Colorado, just to understand what's working and what's not working about what the situation is in North Carolina, which is like a mini Texas, to be honest. And then also trying to understand what's working and not working with some of the state regulated markets that we've already opened up and seen mature. So it seems like a really responsible, balanced approach to understand all his options. I'm here for it. I'm really excited about this. Hope springs eternal. The council is going to meet every other month through December 26th. So I really hope they can put some unified framework together before then. But I'm still a little excited about this. Whereas if you hear the rhetoric from governors in Florida, Virginia, New Hampshire, you're not that excited. If you hear the governor from North Carolina or Pennsylvania talk about cannabis, you go, okay, this guy gets it.
Yep.
Between the governor and Senator Tillis, this is great. You've got two guys that understand the task at hand, that are doing things to actually get it done and going about it a very practical way. The governor in North Carolina is actually including hemp within the framework of what he wants to implement within the state.
So no medical or rec program, and they got pretty much a booming Delta 8 gray market in the state right now, do they not?
There's nothing.
Delta 8.
It's everything. Guap's right. It's a mini Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, this piece, if I'm reading between the lines, the questions were scripted. It was a professional interview. Josh Stein clearly knew what the questions were before you. This wasn't a gotcha. This was him trying to clarify what his approach is going to be in no uncertain terms, as succinctly as possible. 25 minutes. So it was, I think he's probably looking at the situation in Texas and going, we don't want that. We need to get ahead of this thing. And so that's really what this feels like to me.
What do you think this impact will have on the South if this does actually follow through?
So to be completely honest, Governor Stein is doing exactly what Governor Abbott should have done in Texas.
Correct.
To the T. North Carolina is going to be a case study in what should have been done in Texas versus SB3.
Right.
On all accounts.
Yeah.
Dan Patrick is going. I hate using this term because it's very lowbrow, but Dan Patrick is going to look like an idiot at the end of the day when this is all said and done.
Yeah.
Because what he's doing is just going to cause more problems.
Yeah. Brian Dombrowski, good morning. So what you guys are really saying is the bad actors in the marijuana industry are selling their crap into the hemp industry. That
is such a dumb statement, considering no one considers the illicit market, which is exactly what we're talking about, the marijuana industry whatsoever. The marijuana industry is the $30 billion legit industry, the state-run industry in the United States. But what we're talking about is the illicit market. So they're completely not apples to apples.
Well said. And that goes for both sides of the industry as well. Again, we are...
Yeah, no sides. It's all cannabis.
We're backers of the regulated hemp industry as well. It's being done the proper way as well. So again, I don't know why we have to make this murky, but I see a wink. So I think he's just kind of pushing our buttons a bit, but it's all good.
Yeah, for sure. He for sure was. And I respect his participation. He's usually got pretty good points.
He does.
But I mean, no one on this side of the coin considers the illicit market as part of the marijuana industry.
And who contributes to Dan Patrick's fund to get him elected?
Who does?
Big Booze. I mean, it's
Big Booze.
So that I agree with you there, but Big Booze was actually lobbying for SB3 to not happen.
You're right.
They did not want a full ban. Because I was watching the testimony when they had the public comments, and a lot of the big alcohol were like, or not big alcohol, but a lot of the alcohol influenced parties and lobbyists were like, we want a beverage carve out. Beverage carve outs make sense. Do not do a total ban. Big alcohol sees it's like we said with Brown-Forman off the top. Big alcohol sees the writing on the wall. They want a piece of this. I think everyone got put on notice when there was a double-digit shakeup in the Minnesota market when cannabis drinks ate double-digit market share from liquor within months of coming online.
Yeah. All right. Good show, boys. 4 topics, but keep your eyes peeled on North Carolina because, you know, I think that's a step in the right direction, especially for a lot of the South states and how they view cannabis and how that could change and have a domino effect. But we always talk about how we need more markets to go online. We'll have more updates next week from regarding PA and their sessions this week in the Senate. And we're hoping to get
South is where we get that growth. North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida going adult use. And obviously Kentucky coming online with medical, and then hopefully Tennessee gets something.
I know
of size.
We've got a lot of fallow fields ready,
isn't there? When you look at 2018 to 2021 and how many markets came online, God, I miss those days. Really miss those days.
And Brian, you're correct. There are people in the legitimate market that do that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. Trust me, I'm not. I don't know my head in the sand. The regulated market and the marijuana industry that we're talking about, I know that everybody's not exactly sitting here acting above board.
Look at the
and there's a lot of shenanigans. There's a lot of shenanigans that do happen.
I agree.
Look at the number of licenses in Maine and Oklahoma versus the amount of cannabis actually sold there.
I know, right? There's a reason why Tulsa King is filmed in Oklahoma and has scenes of cannabis in it.
Well, that's where Trump is alleging, and a lot of the Republicans are alleging the Chinese and cartel grows are Maine and Oklahoma.
That's what I've heard. But on that note, we'll
we should go do an investigative. We should do an investigative piece into Chinese grows in Oklahoma and Maine.
Let's move on to our next topic.
I'll let you do that one, Chad.
There's not enough security to make me feel comfortable with that.
What was the one company? I don't want to say any names or company names, but they were into the coca plants, and they landed into Colombia and had to be escorted to their farm in bulletproof window vehicles. That's when you got to start looking at yourself saying, you know, is this the right career change or right career choice that I can envision myself in?
Yeah, I try to avoid going places where I need to put on a hood and be taken deep into a mountain region.
Yeah. Meanwhile, that guy working the cashier at 7-Eleven who's singing and having a good old time, and you think he's crazy. Maybe he's the one with the answer and solution on life.
Yeah.
All right, that wraps up our topics, and we've wrapped up things with North Carolina, and it's time to bring back. We'll put you at the center stage now here. Put your shades on, because for the first time in a long time, no update from David Culver as well, Steve Basso, but we will be in Benzenga next week. So all the biggest names and thought leaders, we're going to go live probably at 11 a.m., 10 a.m. Central Time on Monday, and it's just going to be straight talk. When we take breaks, we'll just put up a nice little slide, says we'll be back, and we'll keep you all posted throughout the day. But it's going to be probably from like 11 to like 6 hours of nonstop interviews in Chicago. So hopefully we get some people from the USCR that will be there, but we'll keep you posted. But in the meantime, on the lighter side, it's time for Mic Drop with Guap. Back for season 2. Here we go.
Yes. Greetings, Earthlings. Where you stand is a function of where you sit. And what I mean by that is a lot of the discourse on X seems to be self-interested. You have 1,000 shares of MSOX, and so now you want to kill hemp, or you run a hemp business and you think the MSOs are the worst things ever. I don't own any shares of MSOs. I don't work for any of them. I don't own any part of a hemp business. I don't work for any of them. So in many ways, I'm representing the consumer here. And what I'd like to see in North Carolina is exactly what's happening, which is really examining all frameworks, what's worked, what hasn't. And selfishly, again, this is now self-interested Guap talking, I would like to be part of an operation at some point that straddles the North Carolina-Virginia border. And I would like the access to that, being able to do that, not to cost millions of dollars. Right? I know. So if
you could do that with hemp. You could do that with hemp right now.
I don't want this hemp marijuana stuff anymore. I want cannabis. What Governor Stein kept saying is, this is all cannabis. The definition of hemp and marijuana is irrelevant at this point. What we want to do is have cannabis shops that are age-gated, with labeling, with safety testing, with regulations, with licensing. These are all things that are not happening right now in North Carolina. and it needs to. So if the barrier entry wasn't, $20 million to switch your medical dispensary over to a rec, I would really appreciate that. And I think the consumer would ultimately get a system where there's real competition. Open market 280E screws everything up. So we need that to go away too, but that's another podcast. Where there's a situation where picture two markets in one in North Carolina. One looks a lot like Colorado and the other one looks a lot like Germany.
Okay.
And the German side would be dominated by MSOs who have the budgets to be GMP certified, ISO 2200, all the things that you need to make pharmaceutical grade products. Hand that entire market over to the companies that can do that the best, and then let the rest rip. I'm excited for North Carolina, guys.
But the problem is,
I'm not saying hand it to hemp, hand it to the MSOs. I'm saying open it up.
But the problem is the medical side that you just described. Those companies won't let the other side exist.
I know.
Because they can't compete with them.
Yes.
Yes.
I agree. And I think, but I want both. I want something that's, I want everything to be elevated in terms of the regulations, but I also want two markets, and I want the regulations to be whatever company participates at the true medical level. Think Germany participating and held to an even higher standard. It's all got to come up. And we have the option, and North Carolina is one of the few states that seems open to this sort of thing, to trying something a little bit different than tried before. And it also has the opportunity, because we don't have a medical market, we don't have a rec market. We can really learn from what's not worked.
It'd be interesting. I would consider moving to North Carolina if they had a licensing structure like that.
What is the what's the population of North Carolina? How many people there?
It's boomed.
15, 14
since COVID. Yeah.
Is there that many? Yeah, I know there's a lot of people have moved there
Virginia, since. I remember doing the math for you one other time.
Isn't there a lot of younger generations have moved there because it's a big tech?
The Raleigh-Durham and Charlotte area has exploded.
Yeah.
Right.
In North Carolina.
I didn't realize there's that many people. 15 million people in North Carolina. Wow.
Yeah, and if you add up, I would have to look back at my old tweets, but if you start adding up the populations of South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, Kentucky, and just call that the Southeast, Georgia, you're talking about something that's bigger than California.
With fertile land that no one really talks about.
Yeah, North Carolina is number 9 with the population of 11 million. Virginia's got 8.8. It's a
nice size state.
It's a big swath if you add them all up. And I think North Carolina could be the one that leads the way here. And if other states follow suit with something like I described, I'd be thrilled. I would participate. And we need to clean this whole thing up and make it open.
Yeah.
John Simon writes, make North Carolina like Colorado. Dirty the Grower writes, research Triangle area. It's a great area. Check it out.
It's all right. I live there. I'd rather live in the mountains myself, but I would also rather not have to grow in the mountains, hidden and scared for my, my ability to stay out of jail. I want to be able to do this the right way, and I don't want to participate in the hemp market the way it is now. I want the whole thing to be, and so do the operators in the hemp market. The good ones, they want this.
Yeah. Oilers 48 talk about CGP.
They say they want it.
I haven't heard any hemp companies that have lobbied for regulated cannabis market style regulations.
They're
I've heard
in Raleigh
them just
right now doing so.
I'm talking about the guys that we've seen on like social media and the CEOs that are active in the hemp space. I've seen them. They're just like, we want it the way that we have it right now. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Real G's work in silence and violence, right?
Yeah.
Like quietly with lobbyists on the Hill in Raleigh now.
Yeah. Global 365 writes, where you stand is where you sit. Nice, Guap. That was actually a good opening there. Oilers 48 says, Oilers 48 writes, talk about CGC, ladies. We did it earlier. It was oversold, and I think it's up.
It's up 16%.
16%.
She's moving.
Huh.
Brian's right. North Carolina is going to pick up Texas's fumble. I'm telling you. North Carolina is going to be the poster child of what Texas should have been and could have been. with a much bigger market. Texas could have been huge if they would just not ban it and just create a legal market.
But Dan,
because what you do is you create.
Officer.
You know what? You
all
just
they have to do is create a medical program, and then create an adult use program, and tell the guys that are already in the state, this is how it's going to be. These are your rules and regs. You're going to get grandfathered in, and you're going to have to act in a compliant, governed manner. The ones that want to do it will do it, and the ones that don't, their businesses are going to fail. And if they continue to operate, they're done.
You said you'd move to North Carolina, right?
Yeah, I would consider it. My wife would move there tomorrow.
Maybe the TDR.
That's reconsidering the Florida move right now.
I'm telling you, man, because real estate's a little bit reasonable there versus Florida as well. But anyway, we'll save that conversation for another. Anyway, you mentioned.
Can't wait to have a farm.
We are out of here today. Apologies for everybody out there that we just got confirmation that Brady Cobb will not be able to join us here today. But, we'll keep you posted on when he could join us next. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your week, or I should say Friday, everybody. Enjoy the weekend. But a quick reminder, we will be in the Windy City, Anthony and I, in Chicago. We're going live. I'll keep you posted probably at around 10 or 11 a.m. on Monday. And like I said, going to be a full continuous live stream all day. It's for Benzenga's Cannabis Capital Conference. So the biggest minds are in one room. And we are set up right at the front entrance where everybody's walking in. So we'll have all access to all the biggest names. So keep you posted. Some of the names that we have confirmed so far. But actually, you know, we'll keep a little teaser so that way you log on. So we'll be on for 4 o'clock. We will be on at 4 o'clock, but we also will be on at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, noon, 11, all day long. So make sure to log on throughout the day and see who we've got coming up. And should be a good day for us and getting
Panthers.
Some information.
Panthers win game 2 tonight.
Yeah. All right.
Only a fifth speaks in absolutes.
I'm saying that the Oilers are going back to South Florida up 2-0.
Yeah,
you said that. I'm glad you're saying that because the last 3 times you said that about the Maple Leafs, the Panthers won.
It's
yeah.
true.
So
I'll be honest with you. I really don't care who wins. I just want a really good series. And that game 1 was a heck of a.
It was a great game. I wasn't expecting to win game 1 in Edmonton.
These idiot Canadians said, bring the cup home. I'm like, would you shut up,
dude? So my buddies, 2 of my really good friends they traveled to every single road game for the Panthers.
Whoa.
They're in Edmonton, front row on the ice. And as that goal went in from Draisaitl, my buddy is like videoing something on his phone. This fucking fan from behind him, this crazy woman, goes over him and smacks the phone out of his hand.
Why? Accidentally.
She was like raging on him. This Edmonton fan just went nuts.
Dan Patrick would say that she's
and he's got the entire thing. He's got the entire thing on video because the phone was flipped around. He was videoing himself, and this lady just comes and just smacks the phone right out of his hand.
Wowzers.
Yeah. So Panthers win tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to a playoff game. I'm probably going to spend a little bit more money and go down to Fort Lauderdale. But I'm sure Edmonton's nice this time of year. But
they hate it. They hate traveling to Edmonton.
That's a long ways to go.
They went last year for the Stanley Cup too. They're like, it's the worst place to go. Not that it's a terrible place, but just the travel there from South Florida is brutal.
You don't have to shy around. Most Canadians that I speak to, that, you know, if you got anyone from Edmonton that are watching, you know, I love your city. Edmonton's a great city. We'll keep it at that. But I think they're going back to South Florida up 2-0. But
well, the Toronto Maple Leafs came to South Florida 2-0, and we saw how that ended.
Yeah. Big difference though between Toronto. You got some mentally strong. Look at Austin Matthews versus Connor McDavid, and tell me who's a leader.
Connor McDavid's the best player in the last 20 years.
Yeah. All right. Lots going on in the industry right now, and really for the world. Let's see what happens on X over these next couple of days. But maybe it's just best to keep your phone down and go for a walk up in the North Carolina mountains with Guap. In the meantime. Yes, Gretchen, good chance that Anthony will see Brady in Fort Lauderdale.
No, I think she's talking about you.
Are you going to see Brady in Fort Lauderdale? Quite possibly. Okay, that's it. We are dragging this on. This is the producer.
Orange, cut it.
Cut it.
Yeah,
all right. We'll see you back here Monday. Bye, everyone.
Cannabis is cannabis. Clean it up.
So, what'd you think of all that information? Some interesting stuff that we just learned once again here at the TDR Trade to Black podcast. Let's keep the conversation going. So leave your comments below. We'd love to get your feedback. As usual, if you have time, make sure to like, subscribe, and smash on that bell for all notifications. And stay connected with us here at the Trade to Black podcast. Thanks for watching, everyone.